Python video in my Python Master course. In this video, I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to include several exercises that I'll be walking you through to show you kind of the special fun things that Python has going on. My previous videos were really educational, just showing you the basics of Python, and here we'll just kind of wrap that up. So in our agenda, we have to go over some awesome exercises, and I included a smiley face, just how excited I am to get through this. To get into this, I should say. Getting through the video is one thing, but getting through this with you coding is actually the fun part. Here, please subscribe. You know, I always want this channel to grow. I want more people to learn Python. So as you're watching this, please recommend this to friends, family, anybody you'll find who's interested in these videos. I really want to teach a lot of Python. I really want a lot of people out there to know more on computer science, and I really want to help. And of course, please tell them that I always include an exciting picture. And here is me going to some place, and that happened. You know, I'm not great with making memes. I'm not even gonna read you this meme because of how cringy it is. But I won't go into it. All right, so let's jump into Replit. So I have open Replit, and here we'll go over our first exercise, and I'll make a comment. It's called an age calculator, and this will calculate the age in which we will be 100. I shouldn't say age, I mean year. So essentially how this works is we're going to have variables that are going to ask what our name is and what age we will be. And by including these variables, we're going to wrap them together by saying, okay, if you are 18 at the year 2003, then you will be this year. You will be 100 in this year. And it's a simple little math calculation, but it's really exciting when I found this out. And I didn't mention it earlier, but I found these exercises in a Python Beginners Exercise website that I will be including the link below, so you can check that out. There were tons of them that I found, and including solutions. I really recommend you try some of them. I'll include other videos later on in my course that walks you through a few of them. But here, let's continue. So first, I'm going to pass in two variables, name and age. And if you need a refresher on variables, please check out one of my other videos. I'll have linked below, linked somewhere with variables that walks you through them. But essentially, here we have name and age. We're going to set name to input, which is whatever we're inputting into the computer. And we're going to ask, what is your name? And I should keep in mind, include this space, because if you don't have the space and you run your code, it's going to give me an error. Yes, I know. Okay, let me finish this one, and then I can show you really quickly. This input is going to include an integer, because we're going to ask, how old are you? And typically, an age is a number, which is an integer. And if this were a string, then that would make sense. And this will be helpful later on when we get to the math part. So if I were to run this, you can see how there's no space. It looks ugly. So if I were to type in my name, I don't know, just blob, something weird. And then you can notice there's a space here, because that's what I included. Always keep that in mind with your input statements. So here we have two inputs, two variables. Now we will include math, where we calculate the year you will be 100. How we will do that is we take your birth year and subtract that by your age. And I looked at one of the exercises, and it wasn't really clear on this. I'm going to include a third variable called birth year, and we'll just set this to 2003. So that way when we come down here and we write our math, we can include that variable. It'll look nice. It's not a hard-coded value. So our calculation will be year, which is our fourth variable. A lot of variables here. Year, and this will be a string. So whatever is being passed into is going to be a string, if that makes sense. And here it creates a new string object from the given object. So we're going to give them our variables above, and it's going to create a string. So this converts what we're passing in, essentially. String, and then we're going to go birth year minus age, right? So we're taking 2003 and subtracting that by 18. And then outside, we add 100. So this right here is the exciting part of the exercise. This right here is our math. Taking our birth year, 2003, subtracting by age, adding 100. To wrap that together, we have our print statement. And we're concatenating by including the variable plus will be 100 years old in the year. Let's see if this works. Cross our fingers. It's my name. It's my name. How old am I? How old am I? Wow. 2085? I don't know if I'll live that long. Maybe. That would be cool. I don't know. But that's our first exercise. This essentially is taking, I'll mention it again, it's taking our birth year, subtracting that by our age, right? And adding 100. And then here we're concatenating by going name, which is my input up here, plus, and we include this plus to concatenate a string together. So will be 100 years in the year. And then here I have 2085. Man, I really wanted to live to like the next century or something. Oh well, I'll have to take some elixir in the future to make me older. Just kidding. I won't do that. Let's move on to our next exercise. This next exercise is going to be it's going to be a little different. I don't want to say not exciting. It's just a little more mathy. And for some of you math fans out there, I'm kind of a math nerd, but just when I understand it, this is for you. And this is actually really helpful to understand fundamentals of Python, because Python is extremely powerful. I'm taking a course in calculus, and we need a graphing calculator, and they have graphing calculators out there in the world that say Python at the top, and they don't say that like for the animal. They say it for the language. Like they use Python programming in a calculator, and I think that's pretty awesome. Anyways, essentially here is going to be a little more straightforward. It's going to be an if-else statement that checks if a number is even or odd. That's really straightforward, but we're adding a little bit of excitement to this by if our number is odd, it's going to give out one thing, and if it's even, it's going to give out another. So to begin, we're going to write a variable int, so we're going to pass in an integer, and here's going to be an input. We're going to ask enter a number. I don't know what number I want to pass in. I would like your help on what number to pass in, but typically I go with 6 or 7. I don't know, it's weird. It's kind of like saying I like vanilla, but I like it with vanilla beans instead of just the vanilla. It's like, well, why do you like this or the other? Anyway, 7, 8, 9. Oh, that was super weird. See, I try to be funny sometimes, but it doesn't work. Then we have another variable. I'm going to call this one mod, and we're going to set that equal to number, and we're going to include this module. That's kind of what this is. I forgot. Is it like, what's the proper term? It's got to be something like module or something like that. That's why we're calling it mod. I can't remember right now. Like the hashtag, I believe they also call like an ampersand or something like that. Anyways, we'll roll with it. By 2. And I should mention that this is by 2. This is not division. So if you have some knowledge on what this is, it's not division. This is division. And you've seen that before. What we're doing here is we're splitting the number by its number to see if we get any remainder, if that makes sense. Like, I know I'm a math student. I'm not really a math teacher, so just like if you need more help on that, there's great resources online. But essentially, a good example is, okay, if num was 2, here we can do this. Let's try this. Enter a number, 2, 0. So essentially what we're doing is we're dividing this by 2, but not really dividing. If we were to do 3, then you can see it gives us 1. So it's almost, the way I like to think about it is it's splitting the number, and in return it's giving us whatever remainder there is, essentially. So if it were dividing, then it would look something like this. 3, and then we go. Yeah, you see, it's not exactly dividing. So just remember that. It's cool though. I really like this this guy. He's my friend. Anyways, we have an if-else statement. So here we do if mod is greater than 0, excuse me. Print you picked an odd number. Else, so if you are confused on if-else statements, please check out one of my other videos because that explains a little more in depth of what that is. And also there's some resources online, W3 Schools, Python documentation. There's a lot of resources out there that kind of walk you through these simple things in Python, and it's really crucial that you understand if-else statements. So else we do print you picked an even number. Good for you. So essentially the logic here is we're taking whatever number we enter, we're splitting that by 2, and if it's greater than 0, we're going to go, you picked an odd number. If it's, no, I should say if it's, if it's odd, then we're going to go, it's an odd number. But if it's not odd, then it's going to be an even number. It's confusing at first glance. Like I'm actually confused a little bit on just like, it's overwhelming, I should say. Not confusing, it's overwhelming. Especially because programming, we expect it to be math, but sometimes it's not. Like game design, I do a lot of game design, and that's not math per se. That's different. But here's where you do the math stuff. So let's enter in 2. We go, you picked an even number. Well, duh. Let's go 1 million trillion bazillion. I don't know, something weird like that. You picked an even number. Or let's just do something really weird. And then we go, that's pretty cool. But you can see the logic here where whatever this weird, ridiculous number is, it's going to find out if that's odd or even by including in here by 2, by splitting it by 2. Our last exercise is the palindrome exercise. And essentially what a palindrome is, for those of you that are confused about it, it's a word that can be, that has the same spelling or pronunciation both forwards and backwards. Like I'm sure you've heard of race car. Did you know race car is spelled backwards? That's a palindrome. And I'll show you more. I'll give you an example later on. So here we're going to do word equals input. Please enter a word. Right? So we want to ask, hey, what do you want to know is a palindrome, right? And if word, should be word equals string word. So if it's a string, I should keep it consistent, but I think it's fine. So if word is a string, which it is, then we're going to do reverse. We're going to reverse word. We're going to do something I haven't really covered. I think I covered it a little bit, but not too in depth. So we're going to do something called slicing, or reversing technically. Reverse equals word. This is going to bother me. Right, so we're just going to do, okay. We have word, and if word is equal to a string, that's essentially what's happening here, then reverse word. So word, it's a lot of word. What's up, word? Sorry, I felt like that wasn't necessary. If word is spelled backwards, then we're going to give us the rest of the logic later on. And this, let me try to explain it super quickly, but watch my other video or research slicing, actually, if you're confused. So here we have, we're going back. That's essentially what this negative is. And if we have a word race car, then we're starting, if we have race car, then we're starting from R and going all the way back. Versus if we included a 1 here, or I think it's actually a 0, because in programming it starts with 0, then it's just going to go forward. That's essentially what we're doing here. There's more in depth into why there's colons and all of that weird stuff, but I don't want to go into that now. So just know -1, we're counting backwards. We're reversing it. Now we're going to go print reverse. Now, here's the logic of it. If word equals reverse, so we're already reversing what we're getting, but now we're checking what we're reversing. So if word, and it's not 1 equals, it's 2 if ever it's an if-else statement. If word equals reverse, then I'll go print this word is a palindrome. Exactly like the other exercise, an if-else statement. We're just checking our input. So if word equals reverse, palindrome. If race car can be spelled back to race car, that's a palindrome. Else, this word is not a palindrome. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward, pretty awesome. That's all I can say. Please enter a word. Well, I keep on talking about race cars, so let's just go with race car. Race car, so we get race car spit back at us. This word is a palindrome. Now let's try, I don't know, Loki maybe. You see, it reverses the order for us. It's saying this word is not a palindrome. Well, no duh. I don't really know any other palindromes. There was another one I was thinking of, but I can't really remember. If you know of any other palindromes, leave a comment. Let me know. That would be pretty awesome to learn about. Palindrome is an awesome name in itself, and just the whole meaning of what the definition of a palindrome is pretty awesome. But those are my 3 exercises. Here we have a palindrome checker, I guess. Odd and even, checking if something is even or odd, and giving us picked an even number or an odd number. And here we have our age calculator. In the comments, please mention which exercise you liked more, so that way I can find more like them. And I will leave it at that. I hope this was helpful, and I will definitely be releasing more exercise videos later on. Thank you.